One.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Doctrines of Grad. This is episode 32, and today we got a very special guest, a gentleman that I found very early on TikTok, and now he has made a wonderful name for himself. This is Captain Ryan Griffiths. Ryan, do you mind just go ahead and giving us a rundown of your time on TikTok, and stuff that you got going on currently, both at work in your career and in your personal life, man?
Yeah, Logan, one, I just want to say, man, it's always an honor to come and especially speak with you. Like you said, it was early on stages in my TikTok career where we actually met, and it's been a phenomenal experience ever since then. So I started TikTok. My first TikTok was posted late 2020, and I really started getting traction about mid 2021. I had a couple videos go viral. At that point, I still wasn't letting people know that I was in the military or I was an officer or active duty. And then after I released a couple of videos in the uniform and being an officer in the military, it just went haywire. I had messages from first sergeants to sergeant majors, colonels, lieutenant colonels, so on and so forth. So now I'm still currently active duty, and I work hand in hand at the division level with the PAO team, where we do outsourcing, and I go and do public speakings, help in certain months when it's men's mental health, suicide awareness. And the personal side of it, I go to events anytime anybody wants to reach out for me to come speak in anything dealing with inspirational, motivational, providing hope is kind of what I direct my social media platforms towards. So that's what I kind of do.
Yeah. So how did this all start for you? Man? I remember talking to you. You were doing, a sobriety challenge for
Mm-hmm.
365 days. Is when
Yeah.
everything kind of kicked off. Can you give
Yeah.
us like a rundown of like why that started, uh,
Yeah.
and I guess the results thereof?
Yeah, so the sobriety started, like if we're going way back, my dad, he was a drug addict and an alcoholic. My mom and him split when I was 14, going on 15 years old. I went into high school. Second day of high school, I got into a fight. It was an altercation it was a junior or a senior, and I just kind of kept getting in a lot of trouble, and I think really with that separation and that divorce, I was seeking out help or wanting help, but never was trying to really seek it out, which led to me drinking heavily. I went to college. And then when I got into the Army, I commissioned in 2017. It was just like I wanted to be the best that the Army had to offer, So schools on the schools. I missed the first birth of my first daughter. I was gone during my second daughter. She turned one while I was in Iraq. So I was probably 5 years in at that point, coming back from my deployment, and it was like the world just completely stopped around me. I was about 60 days coming back to the States, and
Hmm.
I just had this realization, like, what have I done for the last 5 or 6 years? I've wasted not
Good
only
man.
like time but memories. Like I was never focused on. I had now at that point I had two kids. I missed them walking. I missed their birthdays. I missed the birth just because I was trying to really progress in a career and build this resume to set me up in the future. So when I got back from my deployment, I started having marriage issues. Mentally, I was struggling. It was hard for me to adapt back to the normal lifestyle. And my younger brother, he was always somebody that I guess he always looked up to me as a father figure since he was super
Yeah.
young when my parents divorced. So I was always I guess, that mentor that he had. If I was out drinking, he was drinking. If I was playing basketball, he was playing basketball. So when I left for that deployment, it was super hard for him as well. So he started drinking even more. And when I got back, we was just kind of celebrating. I got back late October, and we were celebrating, and then we were drinking probably for a month or two straight. And then the New Year's resolution um, came about when we were at a house party with all of our family members there, and everybody's kind of going around the room saying what they wanted to do with this next upcoming year. And I just kind of like said, I'm going to try to not drink for a whole year. And everybody was like, what? And then my younger brother, I never had asked him to do it, but shortly 10 days later, he texted me and he was like, hey, man, I'm going to go sober too. So he quit cold turkey. And then we went sober for 365 days. And, it really changed his life as well. He's been sober ever since. And it's just an amazing experience to be able to really have that influence on somebody to become something better than their self, So that's really what kickstarted
Yeah.
social media for me. I found during my sobriety, during that whole year, individuals would reach out to me and kind of ask for advice, and then it just clicked like, oh wow, people are listening to what I'm saying, So it just progressively got bigger and bigger.
Well, yeah, you were definitely able to affect people's lives, be a positive influence. And it sounds like, based on the story you just described, you were alcohol had actually had a stronghold over you. That was actually becoming, it started affecting the career that you were actually trying to build in a sense.
Right.
I mean, I really want to dig in for both of you. So I've never had the privilege of deploying, but that time away from family. I mean, do you want to talk in on a little bit on that, like the effects that had on you? And
Yeah, I don't mind. Like I think early stages of my career, time away was just something that was kind of normal for us. My wife and I had been together for, at that point, 8 years. We were
high
dating
school
through,
sweethearts, right?
yeah, we were going all the way through high school, through college or whatever. So when we got into the military, we just had that mindset like, hey, you're going to deploy, you're going to be away. So I went to school back to back to back. I went to Sapper School, Jungle School, Airborne, Air Assault, Subterranean Bravo. There were so many schools that I was just stacking to build a resume, NTC rotations, different trainings that I was opting into. So like the time away, it was like 30, 45 days wasn't nothing. So when the deployment came, it was just like one of those things that was like, hey, it's one of those things that we have to go and do. It's going to be all right. And then we'll kind of fix what's on the back end, and that's how I kind of looked at it. And now looking back on it, that was everything but the right thing to do. I never did prepare. I never did really set that like foundation for a family as a father or a husband to like ensure that everything was actually going to be all right. I just was going with the flow and really being inconsiderate and thinking of myself.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of young soldiers fall short.
Yeah,
Drew,
for sure.
how do you feel about all that in your experience?
Um, there's a lot of I had a lot of really good moments that I was able to be home for. I was able to be there for the birth of all of my kids. And I never missed an anniversary. Every deployment always kind of rolled around an anniversary. So, because our anniversary is December 18th. So most people were home around Christmas time. So we always, we just never missed anniversary. So I did miss a lot of birthdays. I think that was hard. Just a lot of those moments now, I have a 7-year-old daughter now. And so I've been retired basically now most of her life. I was still active duty when she was born. So, but she was so young and wouldn't remember a lot of it. And I wasn't deployed any time after that because I was in the process of retiring. So I got to be home for every nighttime, unless I had a duty day. We'd have 24-hour watches. We'd have to stand, different Alpha 8 security positions and stuff like that. My last command was strategic weapons facility in Washington. So I was security out there.
Nice.
And so we had there was a lot of responsibility. There was very high stress, like especially for a guy that was getting ready to retire. This was like my last 3 years. But anyway, that's a digression. I got to see my daughter grow up, and then I realized watching her grow up that I don't have memories of my boys in those stages of their life. Wow. And so now that I'm retired and I'm in a reflection state of my life where I'm just, every experience that I have with my kids I'm living it out as if it's a memory that they will have. So I'm like, I think of those things as we're having these experiences. I think like they're gonna, I'm living out a memory that they will one day when they're older reflect and have about their relationship with me. So it's kind of weird having this, this growing up phase of my life now that I'm out of the Navy. It's been it's like a sage stage of my life. I feel way less like, I feel way less out of control. Like the Lord has got me. I'm walking with him, raising my kids, schooling them now, supporting my wife in her career, which is great. But yeah, it's hard being away so much. You miss a lot of things.
Yeah.
You realize life is far too precious to miss a lot of these things.
Well, so I mean, obviously, while I was in the military, I had to miss a lot of stuff, like especially with my life and like early stages of my daughter's life. But I'm starting to find myself falling into that same trap of just grinding and working, where I'm missing just most of my daughter's day. I obviously can't be there all day long. Somebody's got to go out and be the breadwinner. But man, I'm going to be honest, it's been killing me lately. Like, I come home and play, and I'm ready to play with her, but I'm tired, man. And so I can only give her so much of my attention, my time, my mental fortitude. And it's like 15 minutes, and then I'm ready to go and just kind of turn my mind off, and that's not fair to her, right? So I've been beating myself up about that a lot, really, trying to find some kind of work-life balance that we preach so much about in the military, which I never found.
Oh, completely non-existent when I was in, man.
It just never worked. So, oh yeah, work-life balance never was there. Man.
Your family didn't come in your sea bag. That's what they used to tell us. That's
right. But to just move on to the next thing. So the sobriety moving forward, I remember watching skyrocket as you basically were just helping coach, mentor, develop either soldiers or civilians or just anybody that really began to see that they were wasting their life at the end of a bottle, man. So I mean, walk through that process of like, all right, here you are, you're in this position, kind of just went with it to be a motivational speaker and
it was kind of scary for me. Social media was never a thing for me. I don't think I even had Facebook until like 2019. I always kind of had Instagram, but it was never a real big thing for me. And no platform really was until like TikTok. So for me to go from absolutely nothing to over 1 million followers in a year, like a lot of people in hindsight was like, oh, that's super cool, but what they don't see on the back end is like all the questions, all the comments, all the DMs, all the emails, is because what I was pursuing, which was to be honest and transparent in my real daily life, just struggling. I was encountering a lot of individuals that were struggling as well. I mean, that's the crowd and followers that I got, which was phenomenal for me to help, but at no point was I a professional counselor. I didn't have any college, so reading some of these messages and DMs, it just took a toll on me, and I was reading some in the early stages, like, hey, if you don't respond to me, like, you're going to be the reason that I kill myself. You're the reason that, like, you don't see you don't see the bad part of it. So it took me a while to really, really want to know if, like, hey, like maybe I'm not cut out for this. So I had to pray and pray and pray about it, because I just personally felt like I wasn't capable of being that vessel or being that light for those individuals that were struggling. And it wasn't until—
That's a lot of burden for one person to bear. I mean, that's like, I don't mean to cut you off, man.
No,
go ahead, keep going, and I'll say it afterwards.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's that scene in Bruce Almighty where he starts to answer the emails and he just cannot. It's too much, and it's like that's like all the prayers of people, like a desperate, hurting people that are reaching out for something that's substantial. Yeah. And here you are as the guy that's having to be like, oh my gosh, like, is this dude gonna unalive himself because I don't answer my DMs?
Right. And that's how I felt essentially, and it got to a point where there was probably 25,000 messages, and I was spending not even time on TikTok. I was spending probably 8 hours a day, because initially I wanted to help, I wanted to be that vessel. I wanted to be that light, but mentally it took a toll on me. So I was staying outside of like my work hours, spending 4 hours at night and 4 hours early in the morning, just reading comments, DMs, emails, and trying to respond to people. So I was spending 8 hours of my day just trying to help and inspire and give that motivation or that hope to individuals. And it really wasn't until I came across one soldier that I was actually based with, and he's like, I had no idea who you were. I've never seen your content. I don't follow you. And I thought about ending my life one day. And your video came across my platform. And man, I just wanted to be honest with you. If it wasn't for that video, then I wouldn't be here today. And that really was a heartfelt message for me. That was a turning point that I dedicated from that point on. Like, I don't care how many people I reach. I don't care how many followers I get. If I'm able to be a light and a vessel and it changes one individual's life, then it's all worth it to me. So I've kept doing it ever since.
Yeah, so TikTok has those say hi messages, and I remember early on, like my account just kind of blew up, and like people, it would be like religious questions or like theology stuff, or like, and I have counseling in my background, right? So it's like where I'm actually trying to help guide people. Well, because of those say hi messages, this one gentleman's like suicide kind of like reach out got lost in those say hi messages, and I never saw it. 3 months later, I come back and I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow, I've never responded to this guy.
Yeah.
I remember messaging like, you still there? Like, I didn't know what else to say.
Right.
Sure enough, he was, and he was like, yeah, I'm good. I ended up seeing a live that you did, and I assumed you just never saw the message. And I was like, yeah, man, I never did. So we were able to talk a little bit more. I mean, the gentleman had lost his wife, and he was just like struggling with like, how do I go on? But I can only imagine that the amount of messages I got, and then you multiply that just by the amount of people that you're reaching at that moment, that becomes a serious burden more than a moment of like relaxation, where this becomes just a tool for you to do some kind of like R&R. But yeah, I mean, that's difficult, man. So thank you for continuing to just do your best. I mean, you're not going to be able to reach everyone, right?
Right. And I appreciate it, and like even to this day, I mean, my phone right now, what I found that works best for me is I can't feel bad for the messages that I don't get a hold of, because honestly, I don't have enough time. And then Facebook right now, if I think it's capped out at like 10,000 messages, if you get that many messages, like you don't no longer see any more Facebook messages until you go through some of them. So, and Instagram, you just get that notification 99 plus. So I just take the time out. All my platforms right now are, the notifications are turned off. So if you commented right now on a video or sent me a DM or a message, I don't get it unless I personally check it. Or, I mean, it's easy, and it's not to be rude to anybody. And that's why I don't follow a million people back. I have, I think, less than 500 people, but it's those individuals, when I am friends with them in mutuals, then I see their messages first. And it's just one of those things that works easier for me. Is I realize that I can't answer 75,000 messages every day. So when I do take the time out of my day to still do that and provide that inspiration, motivation, and hope, or whatever it might be for that individual. But it's not, it doesn't control my life anymore.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that this actually becomes like a full-time job for people who start to actually make money and do sponsorships. Like if you get a sponsorship, now you are responsible to perform for that label, right, of some kind. But I do want to encourage you though, Ryan, like you're not required to be these people's savior or their guideline, right? Or their lifeboat. It's great that you are providing guidance, but never start condemning yourself. Because I remember getting myself into that point where I started condemning myself for just not helping more efficiently. But at the end of the day, and Drew, let me know if you agree with this, but like your individual communities and who you have closest to you should be your backbone, right? Your immediate network, right? Your family, friends, and then it goes out to your coworkers, community, churches, and then your town, your city, your state, right? So like people that are in immediate proximity of you kind of have that responsibility to police each other up and help one another as much as possible. Now, if you've made a relationship with somebody through I mean, I've met you guys through TikTok, right? I've never actually met either of you in person. but I feel like I have a responsibility to y'all just because I've built some kind of foundation that is more than just a cordial pass and I don't know, you say hi and how are things, and then you go on to the next person. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Drew?
Um,
He's in his pastoral mode.
it's too much. It's a lot.
Because you have a whole youth group that you're responsible for right now. So.
My brain, man, lately by this time in the evening, it's been very difficult for me because I feel like, on top of homeschool, which we were off today, preparing the message for tonight, for the lesson and everything, and just my day is just, I feel like I'm just fried by this time. So like what was I don't even remember the question at this point. What was the question that you were asking?
Well, I guess just how I always tell people, like whenever approach how I guess with the emotional intelligence for me, that when I'm trying to provide as much care as I can to individuals that are outside of my immediate proximity, I need to show myself some grace and say, you know what, I'm not responsible for this person. Their parent, their wife, their husband, brother, sister, they are responsible.
You have to have boundaries. I think that's the biggest thing is like social media is a very, no one really knows how to navigate social media well yet. Like we haven't figured out like what's the ebb and flow of like what's too much for people are usually groomed to be famous. And they're usually from an early age groomed to understand, fame and popularity and this expectation that you meet people that just, they see you in a certain way. So they think that you can solve their problems. And so I think celebrities go through this. There are people that, really believe if I get to meet Robert Downey Jr., he's going to solve my problems. Like, so now because of social media, we are experiencing that at different levels in such a way that anyone that's interesting ultimately can gain followers. Anybody that has a story to tell can gain followers, and that can go in really bad directions and really good directions, like depending on the type of person that they are. But I think that we have to set boundaries for ourselves as human beings. And if we are not, like what Logan is saying, having an active social in my neighborhood, in my community, in my church life, if we're not actively pursuing those real life interactions and intimacy with the local body of believers, and other people around us, our neighbors that need us, if we're not doing that, but all of our focus is on social media anyway, and thinking we have to do all this for social media, it's like, I think we missed the point of like, it's a distraction at the end of the day. Yeah. Like, so we have to be compassionate and care about those people. We don't want to lead them astray, but we can't bear the guilt of their sin and shame either. Like we're not equipped to that. That's who Jesus is for. So we got to kind of point them in that direction instead of us trying to fix their internal issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan, so you obviously have set boundaries with notifications, followers, people you followed, actually your immediate conversations are happening with people that are mutuals. What other boundaries have you established? Like for me and my wife, she has access to all of my stuff. That's more of a protection for my marriage for the simple fact that
that's important.
I have constantly had, people DM, and obviously they're so quote unquote, can you help me with this problem? It's more of like a testing the waters to see if they can.
The burdens of being handsome, Logan.
That's not what I meant. And my wife will point it out where they like women are fishing for a particular like, do I have access to this person? Well,
no, it's important.
It is important, and I think even more now than in the early stages, just because like I do a lot of events, just like the event that I went through this weekend, like
the hillbilly one,
right? Yeah, and
did you meet a hillbilly?
Yeah, a lot of. I'm one myself. I'm one myself. So,
Ah,
yeah. So, I mean, I think boundaries is good, but you have to have that foundation and trust. We've been together for a very long time now, so. Although she has every access and everything that she wants, it's not something that she tends to do or I tend to
mm,
do. Like I'm not like, hey, let me go and search all your DMs or nothing like that. And
Yeah.
if it was that, I would kind of feel uncomfortable as well. Like, hey, I don't mind showing you, but like, do you trust me first? And then that's how kind of the conversation starts with us and our foundation, is because we both have that mutual agreement and trust. Like, hey, and we have a lot of honest conversations when we do struggle in our marriage, and
mm.
that's how we kind of keep that trust. Is like,
Yeah,
you know
that's
what,
very
like,
important.
yeah, because if you don't, then that's what arises that suspicious, I guess,
Yeah.
or it always has for me. So those tough conversations that you don't want to have and like are lingering around, we have to have those at times.
Give the devil a foothold, man. When you
Yeah.
keep secrets, you have to be open, man, because the things that are in the darkness, they need to be brought to light.
Right.
It's for
Yeah.
them to be, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, how has work? You, how has this affected your job? You obviously got moved to a new position where you're not doing the sapper things that you've been trained to do. Now you're doing something completely different. But let's talk about the initial response, right? So I remember when we both first started, like film and uniform, it was take it off before you get on camera, right? Or like at least if you're doing something in uniform, make sure it's represented in the Army appropriately.
Right.
Um, and lately, I've kind of only seen like, let me talk bad about my unit while I'm in uniform on social media right now. So, but yeah, man, like, how did that all go on your end? Because
So
I got told immediately to shut it down.
right.
Um,
And I never did get told really to shut it down. I think just because I never broadcasted it, I didn't realize, like, although I seen the number, like now I think I have 1.5 million followers on TikTok. Although I see that number in my head, it doesn't, I just don't, like, it's still hard to grasp. Like just today, I was walking into the building that I've been in for the last year, and I had two individuals like, "Oh, I just now seen you on TikTok. I seen you on the news." Like
Wow.
it's still real to me that people that I work with are
you see
seeing
that humility, Drew? You see that? It's into his head. It's already
are,
getting there.
are seeing me on these platforms that in reality, only thing that I'm doing is literally talking to a camera and being honest and trying to be a
Yeah.
voice. I don't like, and I think a lot of times with these platforms is people see the numbers and it's like, oh, now I'm a celebrity, and they think that they're all that. When I get recognized in public or by somebody else, it's still so shocking to me. Like, wait, why do you want a picture with me? Like, why do you want to talk to me? It's still so weird. So I think going in the early stages, I've still had that mindset. Like, I don't think that I'm nothing special. Like, yeah, I have a lot of followers, but at the end of the day, I'm still the same person I've always been.
Mm.
And
Let me ask you though, man. Let's get deep real quick because
Yeah.
I've had struggles before. I had a couple platforms. I had a Facebook platform years ago that did pretty well. I always found though that there was a good amount of dopamine in seeing new likes and new comments and stuff, and that can really, whether we like it or not, can really come around the corner and prey on our ego. So what are some
Right.
things that you're doing practically in your spiritual life to guard you from that sort of temptation?
And that's a good point, because social media definitely can stray you away from that. So every encounter, I mean, I was literally on KOA A5 News yesterday at 6 p.m. I mean, it was a live broadcast. And once those questions start coming up and arising, like, and he even said it in the article, like, hey, he mentioned his foundation. He's a Christian. He's firm with his
Amen.
beliefs. And I'm not afraid to say that on live television. I don't care to say that to 1.5 million individuals. It's nothing that I'm ashamed of, nothing that I have to hide from. And I think at a point, if you reach a certain amount of numbers of followers and you do question that and you're afraid to go on national television and the news and say like, oh yeah, I really don't want to talk about my beliefs or what I
Right,
stand
right.
for, then like it's
What
gonna
are you doing then?
right. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like my platform and who I am and what I stand for is what I believe in, and I'm gonna stay rooted to that and grounded. And I see a lot of people drifting from that as they grow in their platforms.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. That's always a fear of mine. Is I'm almost afraid of fame. Just in the I used to want it and crave it when I was younger, especially coming up in high school and stuff.
Still
You
want
know,
it.
and I now I think it's because it's so tempting and it's so just like, at what point do I have to really juggle the things that I believe versus what people want from me? Especially when it comes to like, oh, come speak, but don't talk about this or whatever. It's like, you know,
And believe it or not, I think, I mean, just on a solid number, I work with 6 brands right now that I'm sponsored by, that I associate with, that I'm affiliated with. Every news article, every live television, everything is with their names pushing behind me. But they've been over several, probably at least upwards to 20 brands / sponsor deals that I've had to turn down, and
Really?
would have been phenomenal money, that I've just turned down just because when the contract gets written and I stand firm to what I believe in and what I want to speak about and how my morals, my character, we just can't come to that agreement. And like, just like the news, like the other day when I was on it, I was like, hey, if anything comes up, I want to speak on what I believe in, my religion, my beliefs, how I'm grounded, what all started this, and really, like, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here today,
Yeah, amen.
I'm truly blessed to have a platform where I don't have a certain niche that I have to stick to, and I can influence 1.5 million individuals at any given moment, and when I'm grounded myself and looking back, like the foundation of my beliefs, my morals, my character and stuff like that, I feel like aligns with these individuals, and that's what I want to keep doing. I don't want to try to hide from what I believe in just because I'm getting fame or followers.
And you haven't had any, hopefully haven't had any pushback from the Army when it comes to being able to express your beliefs.
No, not as of right now. It was questioned when the Army first found out that I was doing social media, and the Army never had any idea until they seen me, my duty station. I was live on the news. I was on KKTV 11 News last year talking about suicide
I remember
awareness.
seeing that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
and I got a call from the division PAO and was like, "Wait, you're here at Fort Carson in 4ID, and you're on the news speaking about suicide awareness." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And she's like, "Hey, we're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to come in, and we're gonna have to observe your accounts and making sure you're doing all this." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine, but just so you know, at any given moment, if it doesn't align with what I believe in, what I stand for, and what I talk about, then I was in the process of dropping my refrat packet of getting out, because it was that question like, hey, I'm not going to shut down my platforms and not speak at any given moment throughout the day on what I believe in, what I stand for, and what I believe in, just because somebody's telling me that I can't do it." And I think that's why my platform is growing so much, because I am that voice right now as an officer that's active duty.
Sure.
that
got to
can
juggle it a little bit.
that can speak out. And at any given moment, if I can't do that, then I'll have to hang it up. But as of right now, I've made it all the way to I made it to the division level PAO team where this is what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So let me doggone it, lost the question. Never mind. Fried brain. I'll just let you talk.
Yeah, so it's just been a phenomenal experience.
Well, to that point, I remember seeing a video, and I think that's when this kind of kicked off for you openly. Were comments that were like, "Hey, don't talk about God in uniform. Hey, don't use this platform to talk about God." And you basically like, who do you think you are? Like,
right?
This is my platform.
Yeah,
and this is my uniform.
Who told you that?
And it was Charles. I bet her name was Ashley. It was probably somebody named Ashley.
It was funny because when I first started wearing my uniform in some of my videos and was speaking, I received a lot of those comments, especially like from veterans that were back in the day, like, "Oh, how could you get on social media and say that you're struggling. You need to be tough as nails or whatever, like you can't be saying that in uniform. So then
Yeah.
I started making videos in spite of that, being in uniform on the duty day, and was like, hey, I can talk about whatever I want to. And at any given point, if I get told by my leadership or my command, at that point, we'll have that decision. But I made several videos go viral. Like, hey, you don't run my accounts. You don't run my life. And you're not the one that I answer to, like this is what I do with my life and my platforms and what I will continue to do. And when that point comes where, hey, it's getting threatened that I have to shut it down, then I'll have to hang up the uniform.
Yeah.
So what has this changed your goals? Like, do you still want to do 20? Did you ever want to do 20? Are you meeting? Go ahead.
So I never did want to do 20. My goal was 10 years and out. Really, I mean, my grandfather, he had served, and he was basically my father figure. So I looked up to him a lot. Is kind of why I went the route that I did. And then it was just really to get out of my hometown. I come from a very small town. Population is less than 5,000, 3 stop signs, 1 fast food restaurant, no Walmart. So it's filled with a lot of drugs. And I love the hometown, it's really made me who I am today. But I had to experience the world for myself outside of that. So I knew going to college and joining the military, I'd be able to travel. So it has shifted my goals, though. I've now really found my purpose and what I'm inspired to do. Like you said, those dopamines, I get adrenaline from this, just like this podcast, like it gives me a feeling like no other that individuals, I mean, as great as you guys are, like wants me to come and speak and be a part of something, that I might not have had the chance or an opportunity to do without a platform. Like Logan, for you and I, for example, we probably never met. Our paths would have never crossed throughout the military. Our branches are just different, but just by whatever we came across, it's been a phenomenal experience just to gain another friend through a social media platform, and it has shifted the goals. And this is what I want to do as a full-time career. I love it. I enjoy it, and I wake up, go to sleep. This is all I think about.
Is your family supportive? Has this caused any fights? Because my wife hates this, and it's a struggle. Right. She's annoyed.
Yeah, and I think the early stages it was, but we now kind of found that balance. Like when I first started on this podcast, it was me talking about the military, how it wasn't in my kid's life, and that's what I wanted. And then when social media started popping off, I really had to find that balance where now I'm balancing not only the military but social media and my kids and my wife. So those were some really tough conversations early on. And now we've both in agreement, like she pursues music. And just because of this platform, I've been able to talk to artists, producers. She now has 2 songs out. And it's just such a blessing that we both get to do something on the side that we enjoy.
That's great. Can you tell us, without exposing the sponsor that you had to decline, but can you tell us what was asked specifically for you to do that you had to decline?
Yeah. So I won't say the brand name because I still drink it. And then what's funny about this brand is after I hit 1 million followers, then they wanted me to be part of the team. So I was reaching out to this brand at, I think, 250,000 followers. And then I can't hear you.
He's not talking. He's doing that. He's trying to distract you.
So I was reaching out to them at 250,000 followers, and basically they just said, no, like you don't meet our stipulations, our guidelines, and what we're trying to push for this upcoming drink. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I hit 500,000 followers, and then I really got their attention because I had one of the drinks in my videos, and I guess it produced a lot of revenue for them. So I had a manager reach out that was a social media manager for him. I was like, hey, we really love your content. And I was like, oh, really? Because they had no idea that I was talking to a previous manager. I was like, so they were like, yeah, we would love to sponsor you. Let's start talking branding deals and stuff like this. And by this point, I already had 3 or 4 sponsors and brands. So I kind of knew the process, how the contracts worked. So I was kind of like toying with this brand, like, oh, really? What do you love about my content? And really forcing them to explain what they wanted me to be for their
Right.
brand.
Sure.
So I had it all in writing, and I was like, well, by this contract, this isn't what I do. It's completely opposite. I'm not allowed to say what I normally say throughout my video. So I want the contract rewrote. They're sorry, and there was just like, hey, sorry, we're not going to be able to switch the contract. If you want to come on with the brand, this is what the stipulations that you have to abide by. And they offered, it was a 5-figure contract for 6 months, and I was just like, I was like, I was just praying, like, man, I've never been offered that much money
Yeah, no kidding.
just to be on a team with a brand. And I was just like, I can't do it. I can't.
So
So
they just didn't want you to like talk about your faith? Is that what it was?
yeah, it was basically faith, religion, anything political that I believed in, what I stood for. It wanted
Wow.
everything had to be scripted. And they would send me a couple sentences here and there when I posted the video, and it had to meet a certain criteria. They would give me basically like 6 lines, and I picked 2, really what I wanted to say about that. And I was like, hey, I make my own videos unique and how I want to switch it up and say what I want to.
Yeah.
And this is how I incorporate it, and that they just weren't having it. But then
Oh, wow.
on the flip side, once I hit 1 million followers, they agreed. It was like, hey, you can say what you want to, and here's the contract. But this was an additional manager. But
Dang, man.
they didn't offer me as much money the second time as they did the first time, and I still don't work with them. I just was like, no,
Wow.
I can't do
Bro,
that.
you over here talking about, like, I drink it every day. I would just like free drinks. Like I would even care.
Would you have been able to get it for life? Like, was that part of the sponsorship? You just get
That
hooked
would
up
have been
with
great.
this drink of
It's like
choice?
delivered every month.
No, so it wasn't for a life. The first offer was a 6-month contract with a promo code, and basically how I run my sponsorships and brands is I have to make them a certain percentage above what they pay me to keep them. So let's say for whatever reason they offer me $10,000 for 6 months, they'll come up with a percentage, and with my promo code, my followers have to buy, let's say, $15,000 worth of whatever the product might be for that month, for them to stay. That way they gain and I gain.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fascinating, man. Like that's you're doing stuff that I think a lot of people dream of getting a chance to do. And I think that it's a blessing. Just continue to lift up the name of the Lord, man, and keep speaking the truth and don't compromise there. I mean, I got people in my chat saying, good for you for not compromising. I think the scariest thing that I could think is, the Lord saying, depart from me. I never knew you. You got it. Who are, the Bible says that we're called to please God far more than ever pleasing man. So, just
absolutely
keep holding on, man. I'll be praying for you too, man, as you continue to navigate this, because as followers come, temptations in new ways come, and you need to put on the whole armor of God for sure, bro.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
So where do you see yourself going next, right? Why aren't you at 2 million yet? You're slacking.
Right. Yeah, I know. Well, the thing that I learned about my platforms, and a lot of people don't know, and this will be the first on that I've said it out
exclusive.
Loud. Yeah, out loud is really
you heard it here first.
Yeah. So the first year I hit 1 million followers super quick. Second year, when I was really starting to get into it, mentioning mental health, PTSD, suicide awareness, it's a lot of these trigger words that these platforms will demonetize for, and they pretty much have them coded. So I've really had to work around those words and stuff to figure it out, but I didn't know that. Like every brand, every contract, every deal, it's been me. I don't have a team behind me. I don't have a manager. I'm having to figure all this out on my own. I write the contracts now. What I want to say, what I believe in, what I stand for is what I'll do throughout my platforms, and that's the brands that I work. That's the brands that I work with. I have, like I told you, I have 6. I have less than 10. I could probably have 20 or 30 and be making upwards to $200,000 a year if I wanted to, but I choose not to, in a sense that this is really what I believe. I have a voice and and I can be a vessel. I can be a light. I have a purpose, and I don't want to like stray from that. I don't want to get so wrapped up where it's just a money game and a follower game.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
Scary.
just, and it's so, yeah, it's so wild. It's because it's so easy to do. Once I seen that offer for me not to basically do nothing besides post one video, I was just like, like I get paid more now off of social media than I do in the Army. And it's just,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy. Yeah.
That's
You
incredible.
are,
Man.
I mean, you've been a captain for over 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
So you've already hit the next tier.
Right. Yeah.
And you're making, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need an agent.
That's why the Army's not. That's why
Hey.
they're not stressing you out. The Army isn't, because they're just like, you just keep doing what you're doing. Keep
Well,
promoting.
that
the Army.
retention, from what I understand, retention is really low right now. So if we have somebody
Super low.
meeting this next generation where they are,
And honestly, like right now, I'm taking a pay cut by being in the military.
Yeah.
For me not do. I mean, I could do a gig and deals and brands and speaking.
he loves his country, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's there.
Right. Every month, if I wasn't active duty, I would be tripling almost my money in the military if I wasn't in the military.
Wow.
So why do you stay?
Man, I'm telling you, I just love the atmosphere of being able to talk to soldiers and really inspire and change. I mean, although I could do that on the outside, but I love being in the uniform and doing that because I don't see a lot of it. I mean, there's people out there that do it, but there's not a lot of people that's willing to go that extra mile and put their career on the line. You either got somebody that's been in way too long that will stay quiet and silence, or somebody that wants to do 20 years and not speak up. But I'm in that fine line where now I can make this a career if I want to, and I don't need the military, but I absolutely love waking up and doing it every day just to see the reaction and the faces on those soldiers that I talk to. And it's just a true blessing. So I will stay in the military until it gets to the point where they don't allow me to do what I'm wanting to do.
Yeah.
And I don't have to. I used to think that I had to have the military, that I have to have it. But now, like, I could drop a packet and get out and make 3 times as much as the military's offer me just by doing what I love to do right now.
Yeah, man. That's pretty incredible. I think. Look, I mean, the truth of the matter is, the people that join the military are not of typically the highest of the classes. And so there's some pretty destitute people that just barely get out of their situation well enough to get into the military so that they can leave their home and get away from a lot of the madness. So you've got people, that was me too. I was going to go to jail.
Same. Yeah.
I was getting ready to go to jail in 1999 when I told the judge, listen, if you drop these charges, I'm gone. I'm going to the Navy. And they were like, all right, charges dropped. So I got to go in. But I mean, there are people, it's like a ministry for you. It's like being a chaplain without being bound to the restrictions of the chaplaincy.
Yeah, actually
is even better for you and for the soldiers that hear you. Sorry.
I actually had a no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I actually had a chaplain look at me and I told him, like, I was going through seminary and everything, getting ready to finally step out. And he was like, Logan, I just need you to understand that right now, you being an infantry officer with these guys, where they're at, you are able to touch them and get them in, like, get more vulnerable with them in places where they are that I can't get to as a chaplain, just because you are their platoon leader, their commander at the time. So like I can't reach them there in ways that you can. So use every moment, every occupation, every new job that you're in as an opportunity to just help save one, share the gospel, show that Christ loves them, and there is hope, right? You got to work in every way that you, every aspect that you have, every talent that you have. You got to be using those in those different areas, different communities. Because he was right as a chaplain. He's the commander's chaplain, right? He's the battalion commander's chaplain. So he works directly for him, and then from that he services the entire battalion. that yeah, obviously his time was taken away. He had things he had to do for his actual duties. That you know, where the soldier is where he really wanted to be. He can't be there at all times, right? So you right now as the PAO, and you literally got the entire division at your fingertips. You can go anywhere. Hey, I'm gonna go get photos of this. I'm gonna go, get video or just go talk to this battalion or this brigade just to see what's going on. You're in Colorado right now, right?
I am. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you're living my dream, bro.
You're so blessed.
When I
So blessed.
when I joined the Navy, we had the rating of at the time it was JO in the Navy, and it was a journalist, and that's what I wanted to do. And they ended up rolling all of these other ratings. Let's see, there was journalist, photographer's mate. They kind of rolled all these into the MC rating, which ends up being the mass communicators, and they usually work for the base PAO in the Navy. But I wanted to be a journalist, and when I had gone to sign up, and there I don't think I had a good enough ASVAB for journalism or whatever, and so I ended up becoming a yeoman, which is basically just an admin guy working in an office. And I did that for 4 years, and then I became a cop, and then I did that for the last 16 or so. But you're living my dream. You're doing the thing that I wish that I could have done, man. So good on you. I think everything that you've accomplished so far is great, and keep going, dude.
I appreciate it.
Do you plan to branch transfer to PAO?
What'd you say?
Do you plan to branch transfer to PAO?
I don't think so. So like it's a fine line right now. I work hand in hand with PAO, but I'm not under them. So I'm still designated engineer. So I'm going in normal hours, and I'll check some emails, and then I'll go and check in with PAO, and then kind of just bounce back and forth. So it's kind of like right now I'm free game.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's a sweet gig, man.
Yeah.
All right, brother. So we're headed up to the top of the hour. Is there any comments or questions that the audience has for Ryan, for the Doctors of Rad, especially how does somebody with this type of following, with these multiple career fields that he's working at this moment, and continue to, I represent Christ and his faith appropriately. So we normally take the last 10 minutes to do questions, field questions, if anyone's got any. If y'all have any. I did have one request where Miss Fitch, Kimberly Fitch, said that based on everything that we've been talking about, there was a really good book for us to read that her and her church group are reading. It's called Get Your Life Back by John Eldridge. So it's basically a book about how God didn't create you to be able to of the world on your shoulders, that you're not responsible for everybody else. That's God's job, not yours. She recommends it as a good read. Y'all got any comments?
I'm glad to know that
questions?
concept is out there, that at least people are recognizing the amount of stress that you can endure by trying to take on everybody else's stress. It's tough, man.
For sure.
But, Ryan, you need a team at some point. You're going to have to get, wifey involved on some sort of
if you
team
need a coffee, like a coffee boy, I did that.
Yeah, you need a Logan. You need a Logan. Not everybody's got a Logan.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I mean, it's definitely been, maybe if I do get out, I mean, I've had several people wanted to be hired on full time, and the money's there to support it. It's just that, I don't know. It's at a pretty good scale right now where I miss a lot of opportunities in my emails and stuff like that, where I could really use a manager or somebody to manage my platforms to really capitalize on it. But like I said in the beginning, I'm not really right now out for the money. Like, yeah, I could go and meet so-and-so that has another 10 million followers and collab with him for a couple $1,000 or this and that. But right now I'm pretty content on where I'm at.
Well, good for you, man. You got your, sounds like you got your stuff in order, and you're putting your priorities in the right spot. So I don't have any questions on my end. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know if you got any. over there, Logan or Ryan, if you have any that you wanted to answer on your end. I cannot hear you, Logan.
You're off, Logan.
I can hear you, but almost like as if you were in the other room.
I've had like
There you
3
go.
people in here the whole time, so I've had.
Okay, yeah, I got.
Ryan, how many people you got over there? 19,000.
I really don't. So I did have one. Somebody wanted me to elaborate on my platform on when I found out that I was being censored or banned. So, so it's funny because you guys can't see it, but on my platforms, I'm the only one that can see it. But under my actual username and amount of followers, it says account warning. So that means I'm one community guideline away from being completely banned, and that's been on there since November of 21. So a little over a year and a half, where if you actually search my hashtag there for a while, when I was actually meeting people in person and doing speakings and stuff like that, they would search my name or my username and it wouldn't be it, and you couldn't find me. You literally could not search my username. So then I mean, it went through a process of trying to get a hold of managers at TikTok and whatever. But now I'm sponsored by a brand that gives me a event pass. It's Popple, kind of like the dot card, but now I just carry it around in my wallet, on the back of my phone, whatever the case may be, or every event that I do, and it's just a barcode. So now if they can't look me up, they just scan that barcode, and it pretty much has my bio and every platform that I'm associated with, every sponsor. So it's just a click of a button. And once you accept that, once you scan it, it literally generates every following for if you're trying to follow me on every platform. That you add me on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Clapper, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everything.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Let's see. I do got a question here from Marissa. If you could change one thing about the VA when it comes to mental health outreach, what would you do?
For me?
Yeah.
I think now talking with a couple of my buddies when they've transitioned is just the process. You know, there's not a lot of people that kind of knows the process. So I think the process.
That's fact.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think that's going not even just with the VA, but an Army and as a whole. Like Logan, your transition. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like, who did you kind of like go to for advice or experience? You know, and you don't have to answer right now. But what I came, an issue that arose like when I had soldiers as a PL for younger enlisted soldiers getting out. You know, like it's typically the platoon sergeant or the squad leader that helps them. Well, those guys are still in. So they don't know how to transition out either. I mean, they have classes that you go through, but half the time when you go through those classes, you sleep through them or don't even show up, you know? So
yeah,
I would say I would change the process and the, I don't know, I guess, yeah, just probably the process of getting that information on how properly to do it.
So
there's a lot of secrets in the VA.
Yeah.
And you got to know somebody to get to know them.
Byron, what's up? Ask away.
I would say I had to lean heavily on honestly on Christ, because I moved to an area where I don't know anyone. I don't have friends out here. All my friends at Fort Benning, which is about an hour away, they're gone to different duty stations at this point. Right? And I actually have one there now that and we've only seen each other probably 3 times since he's been there. So I have failed at actually building a brotherhood in my community of like any veterans around me. But I mean that's my fault, because I've kind of shifted my mindset to where I was busy in the Army and just kind of got busy doing work on the outside. That's all starting to slow down and kind of level out. There was a point during that transition where things got really weird and dark, and actually told Drew a few times where it's like, hey man, I'm just struggling with just trying to figure out who I am. I don't put on a uniform anymore. I was telling you before we went live, watching my peer group, get their promotable status to major. It was like that could have been me.
Right.
But obviously I am on a different journey now. So it takes time. It takes communicating. It takes being vulnerable. It takes people like me being able to call Drew and say, "Hey, man, like today's rough. What do you think about this? How
Yeah,
would you
for
go
sure.
about doing this?" So I think we just need to let more people. There needs to be more like groups, man. Like where people are just like ready to talk to.
I got like 6 free sessions when I retired. I got 6 free mental health sessions that were like 30
Let me
minutes
think
each,
about
and
it.
I had to like ask for them. So
Right.
there's not.
You had to ask for it.
I did. I had to call the VA and being like, "Look, I used to go to talk therapy, and I'm retired now, and I have nobody to talk to." And they hooked it up, and it was like right at the beginning of COVID too. So it was just virtual, or it was through Zoom. But dude, the VA stuff and like the benefits that some of these veterans don't take advantage of when they get out, it's clearly on the leadership, the active duty leadership is at fault for not promoting what the things that they are entitled to.
Right.
And because I know
Well,
guys that get out that never know to go to the VA, never know, that no one ever told them to go file with the VA. Like my brother was in the Air Force for 5 years. He's been out for like 15 years. He has still not gone to the VA. Now I know that's by choice at this point, but I mean, it's like you have a lot that is available to you, and they kind of hide it.
Right.
yeah, the truth is that these guys, regardless of their rank, don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They don't know. The VA,
So-
it's not like they're going through the classes or doing, going through the process of out processing it. So they have not, been educated.
So I don't have another question, but I have my younger brother. He's on my live, and he said it's not a question, but they said you'll need a team at some point. Well, I'm here when that comes. So the reason he said that is because this past weekend when we went to that brawl, the camera guy that I typically use in Kentucky, he wasn't available. So my younger brother, I'm like, hey, and I have this whole suitcase, with 3 or 4 cameras, a GoPro, all these microphones, and I'm like, dude, you have to. So all the videos right now that are on my TikTok and my Instagram, he filmed it. No experience with the camera, microphone, no nothing.
We can tell, bro.
Yeah, so he done pretty good. He was super
Hey,
nervous about it.
that's fine. I'll get you and him coffee. It's fine.
Yeah,
You just need a salary. It's
yeah.
whatever getting coffee costs. I'll be a barista.
Oh, that's something that's super funny. So I'm definitely a big coffee drinker, but right now I'm working with a manufacturer to get all these social media influencers are coming out with their own drinks. Like you got like Logan and Jake Paul that's doing Prime, KSI, and whatever. So I'm working right now with a manufacturer that's trying to design my own iced coffee in a can to produce it in 2024.
That'd be cool.
Nice.
I want to fight one of them so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would watch you fight them, dude. I'd
I
fly you. I'd pay for you to go.
I would pay to watch.
Yeah.
I want to fight Jake or Logan so bad. I don't know how much they do.
I'm happy when anybody fights them. I don't care who wins or loses. I just like seeing people fight Jake and Logan Paul. I went to the same high school as them, of course, many years before they went, but they are products of my alma mater, and I don't appreciate that.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
All right.
right.
So Ryan, thank you, man, for just taking time. I know you're busy. I know this is this is one of those things that takes your time away from your family, friends. But I do
we appreciate
you,
it, bro.
In your work, right? Like both your job and what you could have been doing on social media and stuff right now. So doing your influencer thing. So I do appreciate you coming out, man. If anybody wanted to help, like either donate or be a part of like stuff that you do, where could they reach you? Obviously, I know you have links in your bio and TikTok, but are there other places that they could find you?
Yeah, so one, Drew, you and Logan, man, I really appreciate both of you taking your time to just want to talk. This is something that I enjoy, and I don't think I've ever turned down just a podcast or somebody that's wanting to speak and wanting to hear me speak on their platforms, So it's definitely not just an honor, but it's a blessing as well, knowing that there's individuals out there that just want to get on a podcast and listen to me talk, because I can ramble on for hours. But yeah, on all my platforms, I go by Mr. Griffiths. on YouTube, you can find me as Ryan Griffiths, and it has in the description every link that I'm associated with. So within the year of 2023, I will be giving back personally over $10,000 to small businesses, veteran-owned, nonprofits, homeless, so on and so forth. We just now capped out at $5,000, and we're just now in March. I will be doing a donation of $500 next month as well. And how I generate that is on my website, mrgriffiths.com, is all the revenue that I get from those t-shirts that I launch. I put it right back out into the community and the followers, and really support these small businesses, veteran-owned, and nonprofits. So if you do want to donate or have an act of kindness, all my act of kindness videos are generated from that website and those t-shirts. So all those links are in my bio.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome.
All right,
man.
so when we close out this show, we always like to present the audience and everyone with the gospel. And so I wanted to first start this off with a quote from Charles Spurgeon, who's known as the Prince of Preachers. So he says, "Think lightly of hell, and you will think lightly of the cross. Think light of the sufferings of lost souls, and you will soon think little of your Savior who delivers them." So for everyone listening, for 3 people on my side and everyone else there's a reality that you are sinful. We have problems. There's things that we do as human beings that cause us to fall short of the glory of God. The Bible says that no one does good, no, not one, that we all have fallen short, that the heart is deceitful above all things. Who could know it? So there's something inherently wrong with us that separates us from a holy God. So as Charles Spurgeon said, if you think lightly of hell, that is a destination where people potentially could go, then you're thinking real lightly of the cross, right? What Jesus did. So from the Christian perspective is that Christ came, lived, died. He lived a perfect life. He died specifically for the atonement of your sins so that you can be reconciled to a holy and righteous God. And we know that to be true because on the 3rd day, he rose again from the dead and was seen by over 500 witnesses. And they lived a life preaching that to the ends of the earth from what they knew. And they gave their lives for it. Every last one of the apostles were martyred. So there's some truth. And oftentimes people will die for something they believe to be true, but they won't die for a lie. These men actually saw Christ. They believed that he rose from the dead. And I myself, and I think these 2 gentlemen next to me, I believe they also believe this with all their heart, that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. And through his life, death, burial, and resurrection, you can be reconciled to a holy and righteous God. So thank you guys. Thank you for another episode of the Doctrines of Grad. This is episode 32. Signing out. Take care.
Bye-bye.